The periodic table of chemical elements suggested a relationship among the elements. Decades later, a structure involving nucleons and electrons was found. Now the grouping of elementary particles suggests an underlying structure of more basic particles. This video extends the STOE model of photons to a model of the structure of neutrinos, electrons, and positrons. The photon is a column of Hodge. The Young's experiment and the Hodge experiment reject all wave and other models of photon diffraction. And there's the reference. The passing of photons through a magnetic field produces a polarization of the photons. If the photons are a column of Hodge, then the photons must behave as a magnet with north and south poles. Therefore, the Hodge are like magnets with north and south poles normal to the flats. Using disk magnets as an analogy of Hodge suggests the structure of elementary particles. The relative abundance of elementary particles and antiparticles is dependent on their relative probability of formation. This depends on the difficulty of forming their structure. A photon has a spin of 1. It is considered the carrier of electromagnetic force. When the electron decays, it emits photons. Therefore, the electron is a structure of photons. Assemblies of magnets are an analogy to the assemblies of Hodge. This is a photon. Here you see the disk magnets in a column. If you put this in a bowl and in water, this direction will align to the north Earth magnetic pole. This is the minimum surface area, so that's the direction of movement. This is another structure of 2 photons. It's an unstable structure because when you drop it, it will revert to a single photon. Here is a little more stable structure, but still it will revert to a photon when dropped. You will note that there are 2 poles here that will align to the Earth's magnetic pole. Still more stable, but still it'll turn into a photon when you drop it, has a cross member here. The neutrino has 2 cross members, and it has 2 directions which will align to the north Earth magnetic pole. When you drop this, sometimes the disks break before the neutrino breaks up. The structure of the neutrino explains why its velocity is the velocity of the photons. That is to say, the minimum surface area is perpendicular to the paper. The structure of large neutrinos suggests how they can transform into electron neutrinos. The position of north-seeking magnetic poles relative to the direction of movement is equalitatively consistent with the spin observation. This is a neutrino with 1 extra magnet here. This structure is unstable. It will turn into a photon when you jostle it. This is a larger neutrino structure. You can see we have cross structures. When dropped, it may reduce to smaller neutrinos. Another larger neutrino, limited by photon length, is also stable, but if it's very long, it will break into smaller neutrinos. This is the electrons, depending on how charge works. These are directions which could align to the Earth's magnetic pole. In this case, this is the direction of movement because here and here are the minimum surface areas. Okay, when dropped, it can maintain structure, but the disk will break. This is a positron. Here you see we've turned 2 of the center elements around sideways by 90 degrees. It still has the 4 north magnetic poles. This structure is harder to form than the electron. Therefore, there are fewer formed, which accounts for there are fewer being in the universe. These electron and positron structures can be larger if we have larger photon lengths. The Hodge has a magnetic field rather than a rotating electric charge. The moving Hodge cause the electric field's effects. Maxwell's equations may need to be reinterpreted, but they are correct. These are links to the paper. This is the paper that talks about the structure of the electron.